Alright guys, welcome to F1 News. Massive update in the Formula 1 world today. Adrian Newey has apparently signed his next deal and it's not going to be with Ferrari, but not because he didn't want to go there. Rumour has it that Fred Vasseur, after finding out what Newey exactly wanted from this deal, decided to veto the move and instead has left Newey looking at Aston Martin as his next adventure. That though does mean some good things for Lawrence Stroll. The rumour has it that they will now, after Newey signing with the Honda arrangement, target Max Verstappen to join their team in 2026 and potentially beyond if he does not go to Mercedes. Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Is this a good move from Ferrari to reject the greatest designer in Formula 1 history? Plenty to get into as always this evening. Firstly, Kimi Antonelli. Look, here he is again doing a bit of content with Mercedes. Just a bit of a question as to whether, are they gearing up, or shall we say, to get into that car, because the rumour has it that they've basically made their mind up now, Mercedes. It's just a matter of time as to whether they wait for Max, which may or may not happen, or whether they lock down Antonelli right about now for next season. Charles Leclerc was as well talking about the future of Ferrari. We're going to get over to them over the coming minutes, of course, saying that, look, he only wants to be a champion there, and I think Leclerc's going to be at Ferrari for a very long time. Will he ever become a champion at Ferrari? That depends on a fair few things, and apparently Adrian Newey, as we'll discuss in the coming minutes, wanted to come in and basically rip up the books and, change things in the direction that he thought was the way to win. Fred Vasseur, however, and Ferrari seemingly felt that was maybe a little bit too risky, as we'll see over the coming minutes here. There has also been debate as well, given these have been the top point scorers over the last 5 rounds, what exactly it takes to win a championship. And Oscar Piastri has been the second highest point scorer. Norris arguably should be higher than 4th over the last 5 rounds. And Piastri says you don't need to be a works team to win in Formula 1. And this is a big question right now, because Piastri and obviously Norris and McLaren, they have Mercedes engines, and that will stay the case through 2026 and beyond as well. The question is, do McLaren, need their own engine supplier, or can they win the championship as a customer team? The way that it stands, it's possible, right? There's no doubt about it. The way that Mercedes are currently performing, McLaren are right there or thereabouts with, being a customer team. It never makes things easy, so it's possible to win, I think, without being a works team, but history over the last however many years will tell you that that very rarely is the case, and I think this is carrying into 2026 when things change quite substantially from the engine perspective, a potential disadvantage for McLaren with respect to even teams like Aston Martin, who are going to have effectively a works team working with Honda only. Honda are not going to work with anybody else but Aston Martin come 2026. We're going to talk about Fred Vasseur in the coming minutes here. They say that upgrades are coming, and also there's much better tracks over the coming rounds for Ferrari. They're going to be optimistic. They're going to try and be optimistic, but there is an argument to say Ferrari need some serious help over the next couple of seasons if they want to turn things around, and help they had there on the table, but have potentially rejected in the form of Adrian Newey. There's questions on Ferrari's development trajectory. Same story for Red Bull. McLaren and Mercedes, they were confident their upcoming upgrades are actually going to work out, especially in a world where the Red Bull dominance has not lasted especially long this season. Even Paul Monahan, who is actually staying at Red Bull, one of the few it seems that aren't necessarily going to walk out the door, he says, yeah, we've got to pull together to get this job done. We're dependent on Max and Checo. We're committed to the team. We want to defend the championships, but he basically says it's going to be difficult to defend the titles, which is true based on the evidence that we see right now. And even Max admitting, yeah, they've not been the fastest in the recent races. Nowadays, we have a hard time basically everywhere they go. He says it's not that bad, but we do have to try and improve the performance of the car so that we can try and fight back and set the pace once again, because that's where they want to be. But Horner is saying, Max is saying, probably ain't going to be happening. So what about Ferrari? What are they going to do? Because they were Red Bull's closest competitor at the start of the season. They won, of course, back in Australia after the Verstappen DNF early on, but who knows what would have happened even if that wasn't the case, because Perez didn't have a good race there either. But they've gone Ferrari from 2nd to 4th this season, and sure, Leclerc, brilliant podium in the end in Spa, but apart from that, it's not been great. We talked about this rumour the other day of Ferrari potentially targeting former Mercedes top guy Mike Elliott. Of course, they let go after the drama of the W14 effectively. He might be in conversations, and that now seems actually really rather likely based on what we are going to discuss right now with Adrian Newey. So Aston Martin, they've talked about Newey. they've made it very clear, Aston, that they're interested in Newey's services. No doubt the most successful designer in Formula 1. There were so many rumours as to exactly why the situation at Red Bull didn't end the way that many expected it to. People thought, Newey's probably going to retire with Red Bull. That was not the case. After joining Red Bull pretty much when they were first coming around, Newey's obviously produced so many phenomenal cars over the last several years, designed the suspension on the RB18, and the general theory goes that especially when regulations are changing, if there's any man that's going to get to grips with the loopholes better than anybody else, it's Adrian Newey. And let's not forget, the latest rumour at Red Bull is that this RB20, some features on the car Newey didn't like, but Pierre Wache overruled him, and well, we're seeing how that's worked out theoretically, right? We don't really know, but this season obviously hasn't been as good as the last couple of seasons, where there was a feeling that Red Bull were trying to ensure that they weren't a one-man show and trying to diminish Newey's responsibilities to some degree. Newey wasn't so happy about that, and therefore there was a combination of factors which led to his departure from the team. But wherever else he goes, Newey wants control. He wants decision-making power. And that is something that you would think maybe he would be granted at Ferrari, but maybe for Ferrari, he was asking for a little bit too much. Aston, though, will give him the keys, as it were. They will say, look, write down the number you want, and whatever you want to do, we're happy to make it happen, because Aston Martin are, I would say, the team to watch going into 2026. They have the Honda engine partnership. The Honda engine is arguably right now the strongest on the entire grid. Certainly from an electrical perspective, that seems to be the case. Aston will have an exclusive Honda relationship for 2026 and beyond. And over the last couple of days, Aston have emerged now as the favourites. So today, Autosprint, a large Italian publication, short Italian press, but you've got to think, Italian press should have some sort of connections to Ferrari on some degree or another. So if the Ferrari thing was happening, we'd probably know about it. But it's not happening. It seems like Newey's going to go to Aston Martin, and this is the article describing how effectively Lawrence Stroll has convinced him $100 million over 4 years to make this deal happen. They're putting in so much money, Aston Martin. They've got their own factory. They've got their own wind tunnel. They are trying to become a championship winner over the next couple of years. And of all the teams that say that, Alpine, even Williams to some degree want to get back to the top. Aston Martin actually talk the talk and they walk the walk. Whether they can achieve what they want to achieve, but they're putting the money in, and it seems like Lawrence Stroll, despite some probably reservations on Stroll, just because there's been rumours about a potential Saudi takeover, whether Lawrence Stroll could come in and, well, Newey would come in, and Lawrence Stroll would say, hey, look how valuable our team is now, we've got Newey, and then sell it, and Newey might not be so happy about that. So maybe there's been some sort of assurances. There was a rumour anyway that was Newey's thinking. We don't know if that's true, but there was a rumour a while ago that implied what Newey thought about various teams, and that was apparently what he thought about Aston Martin at the time. Things have clearly changed. Apparently Newey trusts Honda a lot about the potential power unit, and even on the second page they talk here about, well, the new relationship at Ferrari that we'll get to in a second, but also the new relationship with Enrico Cardile, of course, from, well, formerly of Ferrari, who'll be working together potentially, and also the talk about Max Verstappen that we'll get onto here in just a couple of seconds. Before we get to that though, I wanted to mention the Ferrari piece of the puzzle, because we were pretty sure that this Newey Ferrari thing was going to happen. It seemed like from many angles this was nigh on going to be a done deal. It seemed like Newey wanted that to happen, work with Hamilton, work with Ferrari, and it seemed like it made so much sense for Ferrari given the circumstances. Leclerc and Hamilton talked very closely about it, and the rumour is that, yeah, this was very close. However, he said, Vasseur, at the end of May, the group is much more important than the individuals. And this is apparently the key point. That especially after the departure here of Enrico Cardile, there was a big feeling that, yeah, Newey was going to come in. It seemed like Piero Ferrari had got Newey involved, and this was nearly going to be happening here. They, had a meeting or whatever a couple of times earlier on in the season. But this was apparently the key thing. The money was never a problem. Apparently they're going to pay Newey and Aston Martin $100 million over 4 years. Ferrari would do the same. Ferrari do whatever it takes. They did whatever it takes for Hamilton, so they would for sure do whatever it takes for Newey as far as I'm concerned. And this is what was even said in the article, that from the economic side, there was no problem. But Newey was invited to basically give a document with all of his wishes. I imagine Hamilton was asked to do the same, and Hamilton's wishes were perfectly acceptable for Ferrari. They went and got the job done. However, there was apparently, now this is, we don't know if this is true, but it's interesting. We're going to talk about it. That's what we do. Newey apparently wanted the right of veto on the hiring of new engineers, the assignment of roles, and the acceptance of technical partnerships. And Newey wanted a lot of power in effectively determining the technical structure within the team, who can come, who can not come, whatever. So Newey is like, look, I'm the top guy, this is what I want. And in many respects, he might be saying, look, this is what Lawrence Stroll's going to give me at Aston Martin, and I don't even have to move to Italy in that circumstance. I'm sure that Newey in many ways would love to, have worked with Ferrari. It doesn't feel like it's going to be the case at this point. But if Lawrence Stroll can give him a very compelling offer, will give him everything that he wants in terms of his bullet points, and he gets to stay in the UK, nearby Silverstone, like there's a few reasons why it makes an awful lot of sense. And, doesn't have to learn Italian, whatever the case is. So Newey, I guess, was confident to say, all right, look, it's Ferrari, but I'm still going to give my list of demands in many respects. And I think Newey may well see Ferrari, as many fans see Ferrari, as not a failed team. I mean, let's be real, it is Ferrari. But they've not won a championship in 15 years. Something is clearly wrong with their structure over there from the politics perspective or whatever you want to say. And Newey might have come in and said, look, I want to not exactly rip up the book here, but I do want to make radical wholesale changes. If you're going to hire an engineer or put him into certain roles, and I don't want to have that because I think this is the way to do it, then I'm going to make that point and I've got the right to veto to do so. But Fred Vasseur, as the team principal, had to therefore make a difficult call. Either accept this kind of demand by Adrian Newey and admit that you're going to lose power and you're effectively very reliant then on Newey's future. And also the other risk of doing this if you're Fred Vasseur and Ferrari is that Newey comes in, changes the structure behind the scenes. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But then what if Newey retires in 3 to 4 years? All of a sudden, the structure of the team is very much changed, and whether whoever comes next can deal with that appropriately, there's questions there. So rumour had it that Newey effectively was rejected by Vasseur, and Vasseur said, yeah, at this point, this felt unsustainable, certainly from like even a political perspective behind the scenes in the end. And, there was this kind of discussion here that, many evaluations, you've got to be careful. You have to find the right moment to do things. And then they've effectively called that off, it seems. So, yeah, fascinating to think about the fact that Newey, it seems, was rejected in the end by Ferrari because he effectively wanted more power over the way the team was going to be run. And Fred Vasseur wanted to ensure that he maintains that power. But look, this is a defining decision. If Fred Vasseur has indeed rejected the arrival of Newey, and it seems like Vasseur himself has actually opposed this and vetoed the arrival, and therefore Newey's gone to Aston Martin, this will be a defining point in Vasseur's career as Ferrari team principal if it works. Let's say 2026. That's really the target. If 2026 comes around and Ferrari are winning the championship and they're right up there, Vasseur's decision will seemingly have been, proved to be correct. But if Ferrari come around to 2026, they're not as competitive as they would want to have been, and Aston Martin with Honda and with Newey, they are right up there either with or ahead of Ferrari. Vasseur's position in the team is probably at risk, because if he has indeed made this decision, it is one of those decisions which is not an easy one, and may well define his career for the positive or the negative. I can't blame Vasseur. If this is true about Newey wanting that kind of control, I can't blame Vasseur for making this decision. It's actually probably quite a sensible decision in the grand scheme of things, putting the team above an individual. But still, when you've not won a championship in 15 years, you're going into a brand new set of regulations. Newey's eyes and hands and whatever are going to be extremely, extremely valuable. But at the end of the day, the team always comes above the individual. But have Ferrari shown enough with their current structure and system and setup to convince many that they will be a championship contender in 2026 without Newey? I don't really know that I'm so sure about that. So fascinating development. The other piece, of course, away from the Ferrari stuff on the Aston Martin stuff is what's happening with Newey when he joins. Because as we saw, $100 million over 4 years. What does that mean for Max Verstappen, right? Because Lawrence Stroll is trying to do it all, and he has maximum possible ambition. He's not stopping with Newey. He's not stopping with Honda. He's not stopping with this, billions of investment that they're putting into this team. He wants Max Verstappen, right? And we heard these rumors a while ago, but you've got to say for Max, it's a pretty compelling proposition, you got to think, right? Like, let's say Max stays at Red Bull for 2025 and doesn't go to Mercedes, which is already a pretty compelling proposition. Mercedes look pretty nice right now. There's an argument they will be the strongest team at the start of 2026. The way that our current regulations look, Max could, potentially win the championship in next year's Mercedes, the way things are currently going. But let's say he doesn't do that, and he, even if he does, it seems like Stroll wants to get him for 2026. And apparently apparently negotiations are already underway. And if you're Max, you're seeing Newey, who has designed all of your championship-winning cars, go to Aston Martin. You're seeing Honda, who has been the engine for many years on those championship-winning cars, go to Aston Martin. Max is probably thinking, you know what, that's a pretty compelling offer that Lawrence can give me and also Lawrence and Aston Martin would give Max absolutely everything that he possibly wanted in the world. Like, they would roll out the green or the red or the golden carpet, whatever it takes to get this deal over the line, in a way that Ferrari seemingly did with Hamilton, but were not quite willing to go that far with Adrian Newey. So, fascinating situation here. There was actually a further discussion from even Aston Martin responded to this, and they said, the Aston Martin Aramco Formula One team is a very appealing project with Lawrence Stroll's vision, a state-of-the-art new technology campus, and existing partnerships with Aramco and Honda. Many high-profile individuals across all areas of the team are linked to the project, but we don't have anything to announce, they say. It's pretty interesting, right? They obviously don't say anything explicitly, but nonetheless they imply that this Newey thing may have some validity behind it, right? So what do we think about this potential combination at Aston Martin? Lots to say about this story, right? But, you know, after the Hamilton move and now with the Newey situation unfolding, those are big players in the sport, and therefore there's big implications to what this might mean going forwards. And also, what does it mean for a potential Alonso, Verstappen, Newey partnership, right? Because, you know, let's not forget that Newey said he would love to, before he retires, work with Hamilton or Alonso, ideally both, I suppose. The chance was there with Hamilton at Ferrari, that then it seems has fallen through. So why not Aston Martin? Work with Alonso, and then probably in due course work with Max again. That seems a likely possibility if Aston are as competitive as they intend to be when, you know, certainly from 2026 or whatever, that gets underway. So very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Just thought this is kind of interesting as well. This year in 2024, no driver apart from Max has more front row starts than Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. And look, it's still a good qualifying car to some degree, but it's especially good as a qualifying car in the hands of Charles Leclerc. Unfortunately, race pace hasn't been lately where they would like it to be. Quickly, race fans, 20 went to Sargent, 19 went to Perez, 18 goes to Stroll. In terms of ranking the drivers from the start of the season to the present moment, but hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.